Ethan Graves was never without admirers, yet he seemed to prefer connections that hovered in a state of chaste ambiguity. At a crowded off-campus party, the air thick with the scent of stale beer and vape smoke, someone pressed him on what he was looking for. He explained, over the thumping bass, that he just wanted someone to be with, a steady presence. Across the room, Caleb saw him and found the sentiment amusing. A bitter laugh caught in his throat. Of course, Caleb knew he didn't count. In Ethan's world, he was just a friend. After so many years, he had always assumed he held a unique position in that world, a delusion that shattered in the noise of the party. He realized then that perhaps he was no different from anyone else in Ethan's orbit. He lost interest in the conversation, turning his focus to the red plastic cup in his hand, draining it and looking for a refill. Caleb was usually talkative, a social magnet, and soon enough, someone pulled him into another circle. A guy remarked that Caleb, for all his charisma, was never seen with anyone. Another friend slurred that it was because being single meant you were free to play the field. When Ethan's gaze swept across the room and found him, Caleb lowered his cup and pulled the corner of his mouth into a tight smile. He announced he wasn't interested and was leaving, that they should have fun without him. He took an Uber back to campus and walked through the quiet, brick-lined quad to his dorm. A quick shower did little to wash away the feeling. The room was empty. He lay on his mattress, staring at the textured ceiling, a landscape of tiny, meaningless peaks and valleys. From the day he'd first felt something more than friendship for Ethan, he had never harbored any grand illusions. If he couldn't be a lover, he would settle for being the most important friend. Now he knew he wasn't even that. He was just one of many. The carefully guarded fantasy inside him had been punctured, leaving him deflated and exhausted, too weary to move. He didn't know what time he finally drifted off, but when he opened his eyes again, sunlight was streaming through the window, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air. It was past noon. He had a class in the afternoon and forced himself out of bed. Ethan was sitting at his desk and held up a bottle of Gatorade as Caleb stirred. He said he brought it for him. It was a familiar gesture. After any night of heavy drinking, Ethan would have something ready for him the next day. Caleb wondered if he did this for everyone. He probably did. Ethan was kind to everyone. Caleb took the bottle and set it on his nightstand, thanking him. Ethan smiled, asking since when had they become so formal. Caleb mumbled a non-committal response, saying nothing more. When he came out of the bathroom, he saw Ethan had also bought him a breakfast sandwich from the campus coffee shop. Caleb asked how much it was, saying he'd Venmo him. Ethan's smile faltered. He asked what was wrong if Caleb was unhappy. Caleb unwrapped the sandwich and took a huge bite, asking what made him think that. Ethan pressed, wanting to know if he had a headache or if he had done something to offend him. Caleb swallowed slowly and said it was neither. He forced a smile, remarking that even best friends should keep their accounts straight. He told Ethan not to do these things for him anymore, that it wasn't necessary. Ethan was silent for a long moment. Finally, he just unscrewed the cap of the Gatorade and told him to drink some. Caleb didn't move. Ethan brought the bottle closer, and Caleb, not wanting a fight, took a small sip from it while Ethan held it. Neither of them spoke again. In class that afternoon, Caleb chose a seat in the back row by himself. Ethan, as always, sat in the front. Caleb reflected on how different they truly were. They had few shared interests, and their natural rhythms were completely out of sync. He used to think it didn't matter. He could always be the one to chase after Ethan, to drag him to basketball games or marathon a new video game series. Even just sitting next to him while he studied was enough. Now, it all felt pointless. When the lecture ended, He expected Ethan to head to the library as usual. But just as Caleb closed the door to their dorm room, Ethan pushed it open. Caleb didn't look up, scrolling aimlessly through his phone. Ethan asked if he wanted to go to the library together. Caleb said no. Ethan said okay, but didn't move. Caleb's patience wore thin. He asked what he wanted, if he wanted to play a video game. Ethan said he didn't. Caleb told him to just go study or find his girlfriend. Ethan quietly stated that they had broken up. Caleb just offered a flat O and went back to his phone, suggesting he could always find someone new. Caleb had never dared to pay too much attention to Ethan's romantic life. Every question, every glance was a form of self-torture. Suddenly, his phone was plucked from his hand. He looked up, his eyes meeting Ethan's intense gaze. Ethan told him that if something was wrong, he could just say it directly, that he didn't want any misunderstandings between them. Caleb leaned back against his desk, a smirk playing on his lips as he took his phone back. He accused Ethan of being the one who was acting strange and making things weird. Before Ethan could respond, Caleb continued. He explained that he didn't sit with him in class and didn't go to the library because he felt like being lazy. He didn't want to play games because he was tired. He declared that he was allowed to have his own space, wasn't he? There was no need to make a big deal out of it. Ethan's Adam's apple bobbed. He said he understood. As soon as the door clicked shut, Caleb's smile vanished. He leaned against the desk, feeling drained. He had no energy even for his phone. He climbed into his loft bed and pulled the covers over his head. Whatever it was, sleep would make it better. He maintained a cool distance for the next few weeks. He still went to group hangouts, acting no different than before on the surface. But his mindset had shifted. He no longer held onto unrealistic hopes. He was, for all intents and purposes, giving up. As midterms approached, he spent his days in the library. He ran into Ethan in the hallway one afternoon, a messenger bag slung over his shoulder. Ethan suggested they study together since they were both headed to the library. Caleb told him he should find his girlfriend to keep him company and tried to step around him. Ethan caught his wrist. He told Caleb that he hadn't been dating anyone lately, not since the last breakup. Caleb pulled his hand free. He agreed fine they could go. The walk was filled with Ethan's attempts at small talk, which Caleb answered with short, vague replies. The library was packed, and though Caleb had hoped for a solo spot, he ended up sharing a table with Ethan. When he felt he'd studied enough, he started to pack up. Ethan immediately began gathering his own things. Caleb frowned, pointing out that it was still early and asking if Ethan was done. Ethan confirmed that he was, and asked if Caleb was heading back to the dorm. Caleb's suspicion grew. He asked if Ethan was leaving just because he was. Ethan cut him off, his eyes fixed on Caleb's face. He said yes, he wanted to be with him. Caleb just said, oh. What difference did it make? He'd spent countless hours clinging to Ethan in the past, and Ethan still felt lonely enough to seek companionship elsewhere. Back in the dorm, their roommate Leo was deep into a Call of Duty match. After so much studying, the temptation was too strong. Caleb told him to squat up and fired up his own laptop. They played for hours, losing all track of time. He regretted it the moment his head hit the pillow and ended up pulling an all-nighter with his textbooks. After their last final, he and Ethan took the train home together, as they always did. Caleb wasn't in the mood to talk, and Ethan, unusually, remained quiet. When they arrived, Ethan's father and stepmother weren't home, so he naturally came over to Caleb's house for dinner. Caleb's mom had always adored Ethan and felt for him, knowing his own father was largely absent after remarrying. Most of the time, Ethan's second home was theirs. After dinner, Caleb went to his room and sprawled on his bed, scrolling through his phone. He saw Ethan lingering by the door and told him to sit down. Ethan asked if it was okay for him to come on the bed. Caleb, eyes glued to the screen, said whatever. The mattress dipped beside him. Ethan said he didn't want to go home tonight. Caleb said okay, he could stay here, his mom could make up the guest room. Ethan's voice was lower when he spoke again, asking if he could stay with Caleb. Caleb said it wasn't convenient. Ethan didn't push, just sat there quietly beside him for a while. Later that night, Ethan was in the room next door. Caleb, fresh from a shower, sat on the edge of his bed with a bowl of cherries, his fingers mindlessly plucking stems. He'd been like this for days, zoning out at random moments. A soft knock came at the door. He asked who it was. Ethan's voice came through, asking if he could come in. When Caleb opened the door, Ethan was in a robe, his hair still damp. He asked why Caleb hadn't dried his hair, he'd get a headache. He naturally picked up the hairdryer. The movements were so familiar, so gentle. Caleb's eyelids grew heavy, and he let Ethan work. When the warm air stopped, Ethan's fingertips brushed the back of his neck. Caleb flinched away, asking if he needed something. Ethan's hand froze midair, then moved to cup his cheek as he knelt. He asked Caleb to be honest with him, to tell him what he had done to make him unhappy. Caleb's body tensed. He forced a light-hearted tone, telling Ethan not to overthink things. Ethan insisted he could tell that it was obvious Caleb had been cold to him ever since that night at the party. Caleb denied it. Ethan countered that if he were wrong, Caleb wouldn't be standing there now. Caleb argued that this was different. He didn't want to get into it. He lowered his eyes, biting into a cherry, and said that if Ethan kept pushing, he was going to get angry. But Ethan smiled, his damp hair falling over his forehead. He leaned in and gently took the other half of the cherry from between Caleb's fingers with his lips. The air in the room suddenly felt thin. Ethan's voice was a little hoarse as he told him not to eat too many, that they were acidic. Caleb took a deep breath and tossed the cherry pit into a bowl. He told Ethan to stop asking such weird questions, that it was annoying him. Did he understand? Ethan suggested that Caleb could yell at him then. He took Caleb's hand and pressed it to his own cheek, saying, or he could hit him. Caleb squeezed his face, exasperated. He asked if this was really necessary, if his attitude was that important to him. Ethan said it was. Faced with his earnest gaze, Caleb was at a loss for words. Ethan continued, saying Caleb and Caleb's parents were the most important people in his life. A cold dread washed over Caleb. He understood. Ethan saw him as a brother. A pang of guilt for his own unrequited feelings made him pull his hand back. He asked what Ethan wanted from him, pointing out that he hadn't been ignoring him. Ethan leaned closer, explaining that what he cared about were Caleb's thoughts. He wanted to understand why Caleb was acting this way. Ethan was rarely so persistent. Caleb's lips tightened, but he couldn't hold it in any longer. He confessed that he was jealous. Ethan seemed confused. Jealous of what? Caleb explained that on the night of the party, Ethan had said he dated people just for companionship. If he actually liked them, that would be one thing, but this felt different. Caleb said he had always been there, always kept him company, yet Ethan still felt the need to. The rest of the words caught in his throat, choked by a sudden surge of hurt. Ethan's brow furrowed slightly as he processed it. He asked if Caleb was jealous of his ex-girlfriend. Caleb quickly said that wasn't it. He felt that in Ethan's heart, he was no different from anyone else. He was just unhappy about it. Was that so wrong? Ethan's ears turned pink. He apologized for making Caleb unhappy. He said their significance to him was different. As for girlfriends, he couldn't quite explain it, but he knew Caleb was different from them. Different from everyone. He reached out and lightly touched Caleb's fingertips. He wanted to take care of him, to spend time with him. He asked if Caleb could understand that. Caleb's mind was a chaotic mix of emotions. He finally nodded, his voice muffled as he said he got it. Ethan was silent for a few seconds before wrapping his arms around Caleb's waist, the grip slowly tightening as he rested his forehead against Caleb's chest. Caleb's throat felt tight. He put a hand on Ethan's shoulder and told him not to hug him like that. Ethan looked up, asking how he wanted to be hugged then. Caleb turned his face away, saying forget it, whatever. The room fell silent, filled only with the sound of their breathing and the soft rustle of fabric. Ethan was pressed so close, his body heat seeping through Caleb's shirt. It was getting stuffy. Caleb told him to turn the AC down. Ethan spoke suddenly, saying he wanted a cherry too. Caleb told him to get one himself. Ethan asked if Caleb would feed him one. Caleb didn't answer, but he picked up a fresh cherry, removed the pit, and held it to Ethan's lips. Ethan took it, and the red at the tips of his ears deepened, a blush spreading down his neck. He said he was hot. Caleb told him to let go then, that he was feeling stuffy too. Ethan finally pulled back with a soft MHM. Caleb immediately stood up and headed for the bathroom, saying he was going to bed and that Ethan should go back to his room and get some rest. After Ethan was long gone, Caleb found himself standing in front of the mirror, toothbrush in hand, not having moved for several minutes. He sighed. It was fine. This was good enough. They would go back to how they were before, with him being Ethan's important friend. From that day on, Ethan became more attentive. For the entire summer, he only went home when his father was visiting. The rest of the time, he was at Caleb's house. It was similar to previous years, but this time was more intense. He played video games with Caleb, made him study with him, dragged him out to movies. Sometimes, he'd refuse to leave Caleb's room at night, and they would end up sharing the queen-sized bed. Caleb knew Ethan was trying to reassure him. He had always been that thoughtful. This continued until they returned to campus for the new semester. One day, their roommate Leo casually asked Ethan why he hadn't seen him with a new girlfriend lately. Ethan was helping Caleb highlight key points in a textbook and didn't even pause, saying he wasn't looking for anyone at the moment. Leo leaned in conspiratorially, asking in a low voice if he was serious, if maybe he'd been rejected by some girl he liked. Ethan put down his pen and laughed, asking if he was required to have a girlfriend. Leo's expression shifted, his eyes darting between Caleb and Ethan. He gasped, asking if Ethan had gotten a boyfriend instead. Caleb slammed his book on the table, telling Leo his imagination was too wild. Leo defended himself, pointing out that they were stuck to each other lately. It used to be Caleb annoying Ethan, but now Ethan's eyes were practically glued to him. He thought something was off for a while. Caleb was momentarily speechless, a hot flush creeping up his cheeks. He scoffed, saying he was just trying to study seriously and Ethan was tutoring him. Besides, he was handsome, so of course people looked at him. That didn't mean they were all into him. Leo shrugged, conceding the point before turning back to his game. Caleb smoothed the pages of his book. He waited, but Ethan didn't pick up his pen. He looked up and met Ethan's serious gaze. He asked what was wrong. Ethan lowered his eyes, a familiar smile slowly forming. He said it was nothing, he was just thinking about what the professor had said. Caleb didn't question it, watching as Ethan's elegant hand resumed marking up the textbook. Since it was the beginning of the semester and the workload was light, the dorm mates decided to go to a nearby spa one evening. The water in the hot tub was perfect. Caleb leaned back against the stone steps near the water inlet, closing his eyes. He felt a light, cool touch on his forehead. Ethan's voice was close to his ear, saying they'd soaked long enough and should head to the sauna. He brushed Caleb's damp hair off his forehead. Caleb agreed. The others were being too loud anyway. He and Ethan went to a two-person sauna first. The moment they were inside, Caleb collapsed onto a wooden bench, feeling like his bones had melted. Ethan let out a low laugh and sat beside him. He said Caleb was beautiful. Caleb lazily opened his eyes and asked what was. Ethan said, "You are." His fingertips brushed against Caleb's hot cheek. He added that he really was very good-looking, like a cat. Caleb laughed and hummed, remarking that was a strange way to compliment a guy. Ethan insisted he was just stating a fact. After the sauna, they met up with the others for a late dinner. Leo sidled up to Caleb, whispering and asking for a favor. He wanted Caleb to get the number of a beautiful girl at a nearby table. Caleb told him to get lost. Ethan placed a soda next to Caleb's plate, a gentle smile on his face. Caleb offered a perfunctory smile in return. But Leo was persistent, begging and pleading, saying it was love at first sight. Caleb told him to do it himself. Leo whined that he was too shy, calling Caleb his brother, his dad, the best-looking guy he knew. Caleb said even if he called him emperor, it wouldn't work. Leo, in a last-ditch effort, promised that if Caleb got the number, he would carry him in Valorant every day for the rest of the semester. Caleb's chewing slowed. He looked at Leo, asking if he was serious. Absolutely, Leo swore. Caleb added the conditions that Leo couldn't kick him from the party or make fun of his skills. Leo agreed, saying he would be Caleb's loyal sidekick. Caleb swallowed his food, put down his chopsticks, and said, "Wait here." Ethan had just placed a small dish of dipping sauce by Caleb's hand and looked at him with a questioning gaze. Caleb didn't meet his eyes, walking straight to the girl's table. She was indeed very pretty and had a gentle voice. When Caleb explained his mission, she didn't refuse, graciously letting Leo scan her QR code. Mission accomplished. The rest was not his problem. He went back to their table with a grin, slinging an arm around Leo and reminding him in a low voice not to go back on his word. Leo, ecstatic, promised he wouldn't. Caleb told him to keep it quiet, to give him some face. Seeing Leo glued to his phone, Caleb rolled his eyes and moved back to his own seat next to Ethan, whose face was devoid of a smile. He asked Caleb what that was about. Caleb, his mind already on future gaming victories, mumbled that it was nothing and bit into an oyster. Ethan didn't press the issue, finishing his meal in silence. But the jerk Leo completely forgot his promise. He abandoned his computer, spending his days giggling at his phone. He always said he'd play with Caleb when he had time, but that time never came. He was a changed man, avoiding games and spending more time in the library. One day, Caleb finally snapped and confronted him. The argument turned into a physical scuffle, and they ended up wrestling on the dorm room floor. Leo, in a surprise move, started tickling Caleb's sides. Caleb was helpless against it, collapsing in a fit of laughter, tears streaming from his eyes. He gasped for air, surrendering. The door was suddenly pushed open. They both froze and looked up. Ethan was standing there, his steps faltering for a moment. He walked over and pulled them apart. His movements weren't fast, but his grip was strong. He asked what they were doing. Leo was the first to speak, claiming that Caleb was just messing around, bugging him to play Valorant. Caleb shot back that he was a liar. Leo quickly apologized, promising he'd play with him that night when he got back. He swore he wouldn't bail this time. Then he smiled cheekily and slipped out of the room. Caleb huffed and got up from the floor, grabbing a book and flipping through it. Ethan quietly sat back at his desk. He didn't go to the library, staying in the dorm to read instead. The room was eerily quiet, the only sound the soft rustle of turning pages. That evening, after dinner, Caleb went into the bathroom after seeing Ethan finish his shower. When he came out, he found Ethan leaning against the doorframe. Caleb paused, asking why he was standing there. Ethan said he was waiting for him. His Adam's apple bobbed. He wanted to help him dry his hair. Caleb said he didn't need him to. He was surprised, tossing his clothes in the laundry hamper and rubbing his hair messily with a towel. The towel was taken from behind. Ethan had already plugged in the hairdryer, starting to dry his hair with an air of finality. Caleb didn't feel like arguing, so he stood there awkwardly, scrolling through his phone. When it was dry, Ethan put the dryer away. His hand slid from the top of Caleb's head, his fingers gently squeezing his earlobe. Before Caleb could ask, Ethan leaned down, wrapping his arms around him from behind, trapping him in an embrace. He told him not to move, that he just wanted to hold him. Caleb's heart skipped a beat. He tried to sound casual, humming that there was nothing so great about hugging him. Ethan's voice was low and raspy against his ear. He asked if it was that much fun playing with other people. He admitted he was jealous. He said Caleb even smelled like Leo's cologne that afternoon. Caleb sputtered that they were just fighting. The warm breath on his ear made him pull away slightly, only to notice that Ethan's own ears were completely red. He scoffed that they weren't fighting like that and asked what Ethan had to be jealous about. He accused him of being bored from not dating for so long. He reminded him that a girl from their program had added him on social media a few days ago, asking how that was going. He remembered she was Ethan's type. Ethan said nothing was going on. He suddenly pressed his phone into Caleb's hand. He said she was a nice person and that before he might have tried to date her. But that wasn't liking someone, it was just trying to like them. For that kind of feeling, he wouldn't get jealous. As Ethan spoke, Caleb idly opened his Messenger app. Everyone had a simple contact name except for his own, which was pinned to the top. The chat history was long, seemingly never cleared. Since Ethan was letting him look, he didn't hold back. He scrolled up, discovering that Ethan had turned down quite a few people, including some guys. The rejections went back several months. Further back were his ex-girlfriends. He clicked into a few conversations. Some were breakups initiated by the other person, complaining that Ethan was boring, impossible to get close to. Some ended in a red exclamation mark, the person having blocked him. Others questioned if he even liked them at all. Ethan's response was always to first apologize, then calmly state that if they felt it wasn't working, they should end it. There were also breakups initiated by Ethan. The reasons were often simple, a disagreement in opinion leading him to state bluntly that they weren't compatible. One chat log caught Caleb's eye. They were discussing love in the time of cholera. The girl said that she initially thought it was an epic love story, but ended up thinking the protagonist was a pathetic, self-absorbed man whose devotion was a joke. Ethan had only asked what she thought of the book as a whole. She'd replied that it was a complete waste of time. He hadn't argued. His next message was, "I don't think we're a good fit. Let's break up." Caleb couldn't help himself. He asked if Ethan was serious, breaking up over something like that. Ethan took his hand, guiding it to scroll further up their own chat history. His voice was muffled. He said he was only trying things out with her anyway. Their conversations were just daily check-ins and occasional dates for dinner or a movie. Nothing intimate. He asked Caleb what he thought. Caleb had seen the book on Ethan's shelf. Caleb subtly pulled his hand away, saying he was more curious about what Ethan thought. He asked why he was so sensitive that he'd break up with someone over a difference of opinion. Ethan said he liked it. He paused, then turned off the phone screen and placed it face down on the desk. He explained that he really liked that book. Cholera, a sudden, uncontrollable, and highly contagious epidemic. He saw Florentino's love as being just like that. Obsessive, pathological, a sickness that required a cure to survive. Maybe love was hard to define. He couldn't condone the character's actions, but he couldn't deny the existence of that kind of emotion either. For someone who dismissed it entirely, he had no right to judge them, but he had the right to distance himself. Looking at it without a moral lens, he liked the book. Perhaps it was because he, too, was waiting for a love like cholera. As he finished, his intense gaze locked onto Caleb's. He asked if Caleb could understand. A fine sweat broke out on the back of Caleb's neck. He pushed Ethan back a little, his voice thin. He said someone would understand him someday. Ethan pressed, "What about you?" He gently turned Caleb's face toward him. "Do you understand me?" Caleb's throat was tight. He managed a quiet MHM. A smile spread across Ethan's face. "That's great," he said. The intensity of his gaze made Caleb's heart race. He pushed him away again, saying he had to study and Ethan should get back to his lab work instead of wasting time there. Ethan took his phone back, saying the passcode was Caleb's birthday and he could look at it any time he wanted. Did he know what he was saying? Caleb propped his head on his hand and gave a distracted reply. The dorm was finally quiet, but he couldn't focus. He just kept folding the corner of his textbook into a wrinkled mess. He didn't take Ethan's words to heart, but Ethan seemed serious. If Caleb casually mentioned wanting something, Ethan would immediately hand over his phone, smiling and telling him to order it. He'd even offer to let Caleb check his phone for him, acting completely unconcerned. Their roommates started giving them increasingly strange looks. One time, Caleb was working on a problem set in the dorm when Ethan leaned over, showing him a chat window. A girl had just added him, and he asked if Caleb could help him turn her down. Caleb told him to do it himself. Ethan claimed he was bad with words and was afraid of hurting her feelings. Caleb laughed, asking when he'd learned to joke like that. Ethan insisted he was being serious, placing the phone in Caleb's hand. He asked if what he was doing was bothering Caleb. Without hesitation, Caleb said yes. But he still typed out a reply for him. "I'm sorry, you're great, but I'm not looking to date right now." He closed the phone and looked at Ethan seriously. He told him that these were private matters and he didn't need to be told about them. Ethan knelt, looking up at him, the disappointment in his eyes clear. He asked if Caleb found him annoying. Caleb said no, he just didn't think it was necessary. Ethan asked why. He said their relationship wasn't close enough to interfere in each other's private lives. Ethan was silent for a few seconds before responding in a choked voice that he understood and would change. But Ethan's version of changing was not what Caleb had in mind. He started giving Caleb gifts. Expensive things, handmade things, all sorts of things that Caleb liked or had mentioned offhandedly. In his free time, he would either ask Caleb out to eat or follow him to the library. He even sat beside him and watched while Caleb played video games. During winter break, he invited Caleb to go skiing in Aspen. Caleb had always wanted to go, so he had no reason to refuse. On Valentine's Day, Ethan suddenly handed him a bouquet of camellias, a mix of red and white. Caleb ran a thumb over a soft petal and managed to smile, asking why he was giving him flowers. Ethan just said he thought they were beautiful. Caleb nodded, found one of his father's prized vases, and carefully arranged the flowers in it. He put it in his bedroom. They did look beautiful. Ethan didn't say anything more, and Caleb didn't ask. They existed in this ambiguous space, separated by a thin, unspoken veil. It wasn't until their senior year that his parents suddenly announced they were sending him abroad for graduate school. It wasn't a discussion. They had it all planned out. A master's in London, followed by a PhD application. When he told Ethan, Ethan first looked stunned, then broke into his usual gentle smile and said it was a great opportunity. On the day he left, Ethan came to the airport to see him off. Caleb didn't dare look at him for too long, feeling his eyes burn. He walked through security without looking back. He stayed in London for 5 years. They kept in touch, mostly with Ethan initiating contact. That Christmas, Ethan suddenly appeared outside his apartment building. He stood in the snow, smiling that familiar smile, and wished him a Merry Christmas. The shock and joy overwhelmed all restraint. Caleb ran to him and hugged him tightly. He asked how he got there. Ethan said he wanted to see him, so he came. A lump formed in Caleb's throat. He grabbed Ethan's cold hand and told him to come upstairs. Inside, Caleb made him a cup of hot tea. Ethan warmed his hands on the mug, his eyes fixed on Caleb. He said Caleb had lost weight. Caleb deflected, saying he'd probably just been busy. Ethan took a sip of tea and set it down gently. He asked if Caleb was so busy he didn't have time to think about him. Caleb avoided his gaze, looking toward the oven. He said of course not, he missed everyone. He was going to get a pan from the oven when his wrist was suddenly grabbed. Ethan came up from behind, pressing Caleb's hand flat on the counter and covering it with his own. His other arm wrapped securely around Caleb's waist. His warm breath tickled his neck. He asked Caleb if he had started dating anyone. Caleb's body went rigid. He tried to laugh it off, asking what kind of position this was. The arm around his waist tightened. Ethan asked him to answer first. Caleb said no. Ethan then asked when he was coming back to the States. Caleb said probably in another year. Good, I know, Ethan said. He paused, then added, I think about you every day. Just then, the oven timer dinged. Ethan let go and naturally helped him plate the roasted potatoes and Brussels sprouts. The rest of their conversation was about ordinary things. He only stayed one night, saying he had to fly back for a work emergency the next day. After he left, Caleb finally had time to process everything. He wasn't an idiot. He should have understood what Ethan's boundary-crossing affection meant long ago. He had always suppressed his feelings, thinking it was impossible. Now, in what should have been a dream-come-true scenario, he hesitated. He liked Ethan, that was undeniable. But after so many years, it was less a crush and more a habit. He was used to Ethan's kindness, used to his special place in Ethan's life, used to Ethan being the first person he thought of. Now, the closer he got to what he wanted, the more he feared losing it. If Ethan actually confessed, what would he do? Once something starts, it can also end. He would rather they stay like this forever, not too close and not too far. Besides, why would Ethan like him? There were too many uncertainties. He couldn't risk it. All he could do was take it one step at a time. A year later, he returned home. Ethan was there to meet him at the airport. He took him home, and the family reunion dinner was filled with a long-missed warmth. His dad pulled some strings and got him a job at a consulting firm to get his feet wet. Coincidentally, Ethan's tech company was in the same office park. In the days after his return, they had dinner together at least 10 times. Afterward, Ethan would always drive him back to his apartment, filling the car with easy conversation. Neither of them crossed the line. Until Caleb's birthday, Ethan had a few drinks, a pink flush on his cheeks. After the party wound down, he pulled Caleb out to the rooftop terrace for some air. He wanted to wish him a happy birthday, just the two of them. Caleb smiled. remarking that Ethan seemed happier than he was. Ethan's eyes crinkled. He said he was very happy. He pulled a small box from his jacket pocket. Inside was a limited ion necklace with a simple, clean design. He said he thought it would suit Caleb and asked if he could put it on for him. Caleb said sure, he liked it. Ethan's smile deepened. He gently fastened the clasp at the back of Caleb's neck, then straightened the collar of his open shirt. His fingers brushed against Caleb's throat, and he involuntarily shivered. He started to say he looked handsome, not beautiful, but Ethan suddenly covered his eyes. Caleb asked what he was doing. Ethan said he had something to tell him. Caleb's heart began to hammer against his ribs. He asked why he was covering his eyes. Ethan's voice was soft. "Because I want to say that I like you, Caleb. No, that I love you." The hand finally moved away. Caleb found himself staring into Ethan's earnest eyes. He had said it. He asked if he could pursue him. Caleb unconsciously rubbed his fingers against the cold metal of the railing. He pointed out that they were both guys. Ethan asked if that was a problem. He challenged him, asking if Caleb wouldn't like him just because he was a man. Caleb's lips pressed into a thin line. His mind was a blank slate, though he appeared calm. He asked what if he were a woman, would Ethan consider it then? Ethan took him by the shoulders. He said if it was just about gender, that was never an issue. "It's not that," Caleb interrupted, unable to hear any more. "Why do you like me?" "I don't know," Ethan admitted, "but I know that I do. I knew it was probably impossible, but I couldn't stop thinking about you, wanting to be with you. I want to see you every second of every day. I just want to be good to you. I've never felt this way before. I'm sure this is love." Caleb had never imagined Ethan could have these thoughts, that the impossibility of it had also been a concern for him. His heart was beating so fast he could barely breathe. He bit his lip, his voice tight. "Are you serious?" "I'm very serious, Caleb. If this is going to be a problem for you, you can say no. I want to pursue you. I've wanted to for a long, long time." Caleb desperately wanted to say he liked him too, but he couldn't. He just nodded and said, "Okay, okay," Ethan repeated, his eyes turning red. Perhaps because Ethan had already been doing so much, the pursuit didn't feel all that different from before. The only change was that previously, his kindness always came with a hint of restrained distance. Now he would bluntly say he missed him. After asking how his day was, he would quietly ask if he could have a hug. He became more lavish with his compliments. He sent flowers more frequently, always hiding a small note in the bouquet that said, "I love you." Caleb would accept them, trying to act nonchalant, but his ears would burn. Ethan seemed to notice, and it only made him smile more. This continued until the last day of January. Ethan showed up at Caleb's apartment with a large bag of groceries, announcing with a grin that he was cooking dinner. Caleb was surprised he even knew how to cook. Ethan replied that he knew how to make all of Caleb's favorite dishes. When the food was on the table, Caleb was genuinely impressed. The fish was tender and flavorful. He said it was delicious. Ethan asked if Caleb liked him. Caleb's chopsticks froze mid-air. Ethan told him not to rush his answer, to eat first. His tone was light, but Caleb had lost his appetite. After a few more half-hearted bites, he put down his utensils. Ethan moved to sit next to him and took out a small box. He said it was a gift. He gave Caleb things so often that Caleb opened it without much thought. Inside, a pair of rings lay nestled in velvet. "Caleb, I love you. If it's okay, can our relationship move a step forward?" Ethan's voice was a little dry. "Am I qualified to give you this? Or is this too soon?" Caleb wasn't ready for this step. felt like standing at the edge of a cliff. Once he stepped off, there was no going back. He pursed his lips, avoiding Ethan's gaze. He said what they had now was good. Once you start something, there's always the possibility of it ending. It's not good, Ethan interrupted. Caleb, I just want to ask you, could you ever like me? Do you really want to know? Tell me. I'll listen to whatever you have to say. Caleb's throat was dry. He slowly took a sip of wine, not answering. His mind was at war with itself. After a long silence, he took one of the rings from the box. He took Ethan's cool hand and slowly slid the ring onto his fourth finger. Then he leaned down and pressed a light kiss over it. After he did it, he could feel himself shaking. Was this really okay? Being with him was something he never dared to imagine before. But if he didn't even dare to try, that would be a true failure. Ethan, I always thought you were smart. But it turns out you couldn't even tell. I like you. I've liked you for a long time. A lot. Seeing Ethan's stunned expression, he put the other ring on his own finger and wiggled it in front of his face. If I didn't like you, I would have been sick of you ages ago. And I never would have accepted all your kindness. Got it? For the first time, Ethan looked completely dazed. He nodded, then smiled through red-rimmed eyes. But I really couldn't tell. Caleb, does that mean you don't love me enough? Otherwise, how could I not have known? Caleb took a napkin and dabbed at the corner of Ethan's eye. So, do you want me to love you more, or not love you at all? It's up to you. If you ever dare to break up with me, then I won't, Ethan said, suddenly gripping his hand tightly. Caleb realized then that Ethan was trembling too. Caleb, if there's ever a day I don't love you, it can only be because I'm dead. Ethan knew he and Caleb were practically family. When they were kids, Caleb always had a crowd around him but preferred to bother Ethan, tugging on his sleeve, snatching his book, finding new ways to get his attention. At first, Ethan found him loud, but he slowly grew accustomed to it. One day, Caleb had bounced up to him, announcing he'd seen Ethan's house and it was right next to his. That's when Ethan realized they were neighbors. His parents had split when he was young. He lived with his father, but after his dad remarried, all his attention shifted to his new family. Ethan felt like an afterthought. Once he and Caleb became close, he casually mentioned this. Caleb seemed to remember because he was always dragging Ethan to his house. Caleb's parents were wonderful to him. They remembered what he liked to eat and what he didn't. When they bought gifts for Caleb, there was always one for him, too. They ended up at the same university in the same major. It felt like they were meant to be bound together for life. To him, Caleb and his parents were everything. He didn't know when it happened, but Caleb's attitude toward him changed. He still smiled and talked to him, but there was a distance that left Ethan with a deep, unsettling feeling. During that time, he suffered from insomnia, staring at the ceiling all night, trying to figure out what he had done wrong. Until that night, he came home with Caleb for break, when Caleb, with red eyes, confessed he was jealous, that he felt he was no different from anyone else in Ethan's eyes. How could he not be different? The moment that idea surfaced, Ethan realized something else. In Caleb's heart, he must be special, too. Special was a word that had always felt out of reach for him. Even his own blood relatives had never made him feel like he was their one and only. But the hurt in Caleb's eyes gave him his first taste of being truly valued by someone. An uncontrollable impulse surged through him, and he acted on it. He hugged him tightly. It was warm, so warm it almost burned, but he didn't want to let go. At the time, he didn't understand the emotion. He only knew that when he held him, the empty place inside him felt full. He was so lucky to have met him. To have a place in his heart was even better. He began to move closer to him, wanting to know everything about him, to be a part of his entire life. When Leo joked that they were acting like a couple, he belatedly realized he had crossed a line. But the feeling of being needed, of being cared for, was too addictive. This was different from any relationship he'd had before. In the past, he would try dating anyone who seemed compatible, like trying to fill a black hole, always searching for a relationship to mend his inner emptiness. It never worked. Those girls were nice, gentle, and considerate. But when he was with them, his heart was always quiet. Now, it felt like he had found it. But then, that day he saw Caleb and Leo wrestling so happily, he panicked. He realized Caleb didn't need him exclusively. He never truly belonged to him. The only solution he could think of was to offer himself up first. If he belonged to Caleb, that would be good enough. On a whim, he handed him his phone, watching Caleb's fingers scroll through his messages, watching as he happened upon that particular conversation. It was then that he finally understood what he felt for Caleb. It was a sudden, overwhelming, uncontrollable love. A love like cholera. His heart was filled to the brim. This was what he had always wanted. He had finally found it. So, even when Caleb had to go abroad, spanning time zones and oceans, he never thought of letting go. He calculated the time difference to send messages every day. He took time off work to fly to London, just to confirm he was still there. Luckily, he came back. Luckily, he said okay. Luckily, he liked him too. Compared to Florentino, he was infinitely more fortunate. Caleb was his medicine, the cure for all his emptiness and anxiety. And he had never left his side. For the rest of his life, he would never be able to quit him.